Let's start with Kentucky, because the Kentucky, North Carolina, both surprising to me, Goodman, but the Kentucky one seems like it's a little bit more easily fixable to me. But they just, every time it looks like they've turned something around, another problem pops up. Where do you stand on Kentucky, and where do you will they ever be able to figure this out defensively?
So I actually think both Kentucky and Carolina are both going to get in the tournament at the end. Now, they may be in Dayton, and I hope to hell they don't put them, although maybe putting them against each other. I always say I don't want to
No,
see
I'm all in on that, man. Put them,
I
send them
kind
both
of
to
am
Dayton. Let's
too.
play in the first
That
four.
one I'll give you. Most of them I want to see high major against mid. But that one, you know what? I'll take Kentucky, Carolina in the first four in Dayton. I might actually go to that game. That would be awesome. All right, so we'll start with Kentucky. And just the fact that, again, I said this yesterday, Eric Musselman has been without 2 first-round picks all year for the most part, right? Brazil's out for the year. Nick Smith probably going to come back, but he's only played 3 games. And he's got Arkansas right now firmly in the NCAA tournament, and they just beat Kentucky in Lexington. Kentucky, on the other hand, has been healthy pretty much all year. They've got the defending National Player of the Year. They've got a lottery pick, one of the best versatile guards in the country, who's a killer in Cason Wallace, and they're on the wrong side of the bubble. To me, this is on John Calipari. This is on John Calipari to figure out, and he hasn't figured it out, period.
He hasn't. And I think it's more, we blamed it on the lineups earlier, right? At least I did. I was hard on the lineups. And it looked like he kind of fixed it a little bit by going with Cason Wallace, CJ Frederick, and Antonio Reeves at one of the 4s and Sheboy at the 5. Now the issue is, people know how to beat Kentucky. They know how to break them down. They know how to get to the basket on them. We saw Self do it over and over and over again. Just put Sheboy in ball screens because they're going to play drop, and Sheboy can't. He has no idea what he's doing in drop. There's nobody in the country, Mac, tell me if I'm wrong on this. There's nobody in the country that is better at finding what your weakness is and just attacking it over and over and over and over and over again than Muss. That's just what he does. He figures out how to beat you, figures out where he has an advantage, and he goes
at NBA, right? It's the NBA
and if you go watch that game, like, all they do in the second half is run ball screens with against Sheboy, and he's not good enough in drop coverage. And I guess, I mean, let's just talk big picture on this, Mac. If you're a coach and you have something that you know is a very obvious flaw in your team, it's something that can be exploited. Like, how do you solve that? Especially when it involves, like, Oscar's the reigning National Player of the Year. He's the star. He's the highest paid guy. He's the big attraction. Like, he's the guy that you built everything around, but, like, he can't guard ball screens. So how do you deal with that as a coach? Like, do you blow everything up and try to restart it? Do you just try to tweak what you do? Maybe instead of playing drop, you just have them hedge hard. Like, how do you fix a situation like that?
Well, I think hedging hard would be tough for him. You know, I think that you're just asking him to get in foul trouble. It's not something he's done all year. You know, we had that issue years ago at Xavier. You know, we had the kid Matt Stainbrook, and people were putting him in ball screens. And we had your favorite, Jalen Reynolds. And
I love him.
What we ended up doing was playing a lot of zone. And, you know, we would mix our zone and man up. So it's like, okay, Musselman wants to come down the floor every single time and pick on Shwebe in ball screen situation. Oh, shoot, he can't on this possession because we're in zone. Then maybe the next possession we're in man. You know, you can go misses, you can go makes, you know, maybe coming out of a timeout. If you were in man for the last 3 possessions, now you go zone for a couple possessions. You may tell your team, hey, we're going to go zone for a couple possessions until they score. And so you're just constantly giving curveballs. And so for that coach that just wants to pick on you, he can't really do it over and over because he's going against a different look each and every time. I know that's against Cal's MO, but I would tell you he might have to do that because it's not like you're going to put Shwebe on the bench and say, hey, let's get somebody in here who can defend ball screens, because he's one of the best rebounders, if not the best rebounder in the country. You know, he attracts so much attention around the low post that I think you got to figure out a way to be better defensively because you need him on the floor. And I'm in the different camp. I think they're going to be in. I think that right now they're ahead of Arkansas in the standings. I know they lost to them the other day, but I think that they're playing better than they were 4 weeks ago.
Definitely.
Whereas I don't think we can say the same thing about Carolina. And that's what's scary when it comes to the bubble talk. To me, I don't think that those two teams are even on equal footing at all when it comes to like being nervous about making the tournament.
That's
You're
a good
obviously nervous all the time if you're where Kentucky and Carolina are at, but I think Kentucky's going to be fine.